In the depths of the human psyche lies a truth few are willing to confront. That which is always available, that which comes too easily, becomes invisible to the unconscious mind. It is a paradox woven into the nature of desire itself. We believe that by being constantly present, by offering ourselves fully and without pause, we will be cherished, loved, valued. But the psyche does not work in such simple, linear ways. The psyche desires what it cannot fully possess. It is drawn not to the obvious, but to the elusive. When you make yourself readily available at all times, you strip yourself of the aura that ignites curiosity, longing, and admiration. You become background noise in a world saturated with option. Understand this deeply. Scarcity is not manipulation. It is respect for your own sacredness. When you are everywhere, you are nowhere. When you offer your time, your presence, your energy without discernment, you betray your own inner value. The individual who has not yet confronted their own insecurities will mistakenly believe that availability guarantees connection. But in truth, it guarantees being taken for granted. The human soul is wired to chase what challenges it, to desire what requires effort, to value what is not thrown into its lap without invitation. There is an unconscious pattern in those who seek to be seen as a luxury, yet behave as a commodity. They offer themselves without pause, respond without delay, overexpose their emotions, and flood the space of others without being invited. This is the unconscious cry of the unindividuated self, desperately seeking to be affirmed by the external world because they have yet to affirm themselves from within. You must see the psychological wound in this pattern. It is not love, it is fear disguised as devotion. It is not intimacy, it is insecurity seeking refuge. To become a luxury is to embody the opposite energy. It is to stand rooted in your own presence, undisturbed by whether they stay or go. It is to allow your presence to be rare, your words to be measured, your actions to be intentional. You do not chase, you do not flood, you do not make yourself always available, because you understand that your energy is not something to be consumed at will by those who have not earned the right to it. The world of luxury operates on this principle. What is rare becomes desired. What is limited becomes precious. What is inaccessible becomes chaste. You, as an individual, are no different. When you overextend yourself, you diminish your psychic potency. When you retreat into your own sacred space, you allow others to feel the pull of your absence, to experience the longing that arises when something valuable is no longer within easy reach. Do not confuse this with playing games or engaging in manipulation. The difference lies within the motive. To become a luxury is not to manipulate others into chasing you. It is to honor yourself so deeply that you no longer compromise your availability simply to be validated. You do not withhold to punish. You withhold because you have standards. You do not create distance to create suffering in the other. You create distance to protect your own energy from being wasted on those who do not see it as a privilege. When you learn to sit in your own absence, when you become comfortable withdrawing your energy without fear of abandonment, you step into a dimension of power that cannot be imitated. The one who is capable of disappearing, of becoming unavailable, of allowing silence to do the speaking, is the one who commands respect, not through demand, but through presence. And in this silence, in this deliberate distance, the other is left to confront the space you once occupied. They are left to question what they overlooked, what they took for granted, what they failed to appreciate. Luxury does not chase. Luxury does not scream for attention. Luxury stands still and allows the world to rotate around it. You must understand that if you do not step back, if you do not withdraw your presence from time to time, you deny others the opportunity to miss you, to desire you, to recognize the value of what you offer. This is not cruelty. This is psychology. It is the law of the psyche. It is the law of attraction at its rawest, most primal level. Therefore, step back. Make yourself scarce. Withdraw your presence not as a tactic, but as a statement of your inner abundance. When you are no longer afraid to be absent, you become the very thing they chase in your absence. And that is the moment you stop being an option and start becoming a luxury. And there is a silent tragedy unfolding in the lives of those who crave to be seen as valuable, yet continuously seek that value from the outside. They believe that if only others could see their worth, if only the world would acknowledge them, they would finally feel whole. But the reality is that no amount of external validation can replace the inner work of cultivating one's own worth. It is an illusion to think that the gaze of others can substitute the gaze we must turn inward upon ourselves. You cannot become a luxury in the eyes of others if, within yourself, you still feel like an option. The truth is simple yet profoundly uncomfortable. The world will see you exactly as you see yourself. If you see yourself as lacking, they will see lack. If you see yourself as unworthy, they will mirror that perception back to you. You project your beliefs onto the world, and the world reflects them back with ruthless accuracy. Therefore, before anyone else can see you as a luxury, you must first become that luxury within the sanctity of your own psyche. You must begin, in silence and solitude, to craft a foundation of inner worth so unshakable that it no longer depends on applause, approval, or acceptance. This is the work few are willing to do. It is far easier to chase validation, to seek approval, to decorate oneself with external symbols of worth. But these are hollow masks that crumble under the slightest rejection. What is required is the courage to sit in the rawness of your own being and ask the difficult questions. Do I see myself as valuable? Do I honor my own presence? Do I regard my time, my love, my energy as sacred? Or have I handed over these treasures to a world that has not yet earned the right to them? The one who is seen as a luxury is not the one who demands to be seen, but the one who lives from a place of quiet, unwavering self-respect. This respect is not loud. It is not performative. It does not beg for recognition. It simply exists, radiating from the depths of the individual's being, communicating without words. I know who I am. And when you know who you are, when you have done the inner work of self-affirmation, the world cannot help but respond in kind. You no longer need them to see you as a luxury, because you have already claimed that truth within. And ironically, it is when you no longer need their validation that they offer it most freely. You must understand that this is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is not about elevating yourself above others, but about elevating yourself above the patterns of self-neglect and self-abandonment that have kept you small. When you treat yourself as ordinary, the world will follow suit. When you treat yourself as sacred, the world will adjust. But this adjustment must begin within. You cannot wait for the world to crown you. You must crown yourself, in the quiet spaces where no one is watching. This is why solitude is not a punishment, but a sanctuary. It is within the depths of solitude that you meet yourself fully, stripped of the noise, the roles, the performances. It is here that you begin the laborious yet liberating work of rebuilding the fractured relationship you have with yourself. It is here that you learn to honor your own voice, your own needs, your own worthiness, independent of anyone else's recognition. And once you have built this inner cathedral of self-worth, you will find that you no longer move through the world seeking approval, but offering presence. You will no longer ask to be chosen, because you have already chosen yourself. This is the unseen work behind becoming a luxury. It is not about appearance, status, or performance. It is about the frequency you emit from the core of your being, the frequency of someone who knows their own value so intimately that the outside world becomes merely a reflection, not the source. You do not need them to tell you you are enough. You have told yourself. You do not need them to validate your worth. You have validated it through your actions, your discipline, your inner dialogue. And when this becomes your way of being, you will notice something extraordinary. Those who once overlooked you will begin to notice you. Those who once took you for granted will now hesitate in your absence. But by then it will no longer matter to you, because you will have arrived at the ultimate luxury, the knowing that you were always enough, even when they could not see it. That is the energy they cannot resist. There is a certain power that lies not in what is said, but in what is left unsaid. In a world where people rush to explain themselves, to declare their intentions, to put everything on the table in the hope of being understood, few realize that the most potent influence comes from what remains hidden. The psyche is not fascinated by what is fully revealed. It is fascinated by what remains in shadow, by what lingers just beyond the grasp of conscious understanding. It is the unknown that pulls us, the unanswered questions that keep us awake at night, the subtle energies that stir our imagination and awaken our desires. When you make yourself too easy to read, when you explain every emotion, every thought, every desire, you rob yourself of the very mystique that makes you magnetic. You strip away the layers that evoke curiosity. You hand over your soul for immediate consumption, and in doing so, you allow others to place you in a category, to reduce you to something familiar, ordinary, understood. And once they have understood you, they will feel no compulsion to continue exploring you. You will have given them the illusion that there is nothing left to uncover. But within the depths of the psyche, there is an instinct that longs to explore what it does not fully comprehend. The more elusive, the more enigmatic, the more subtly you reveal yourself, the more others will lean in, not to consume you, but to try to unravel the mystery that you have become. You must learn the discipline of elegant restraint. This is not silence for the sake of coldness. This is not withholding to punish. It is the conscious choice to allow others the space to wonder, to question, to feel the weight of your presence, even in your absence. When you master the art of being the unanswered question in their lives, you step into a realm of influence that cannot be manufactured through words alone. It is your aura, your energy, your subtle expressions that do the speaking. You no longer feel the compulsion to tell them who you are, because your presence already speaks for itself. You allow them to feel the edges of your being without giving them the entire map. And in that space of not knowing, desire grows, fascination takes root, respect is cultivated. The human psyche seeks out stories it cannot easily conclude. When you present yourself as a story they cannot finish, they will return to you over and over, trying to write the next chapter, trying to decipher the unspoken truths that lie beneath your exterior. You must understand that people value what they invest in. When you make them work to understand you, to feel you, to know you, you invite them into a psychological process where they are no longer passive consumers, but active participants in the narrative of who you are. This is the essence of becoming a luxury. Luxury does not beg for attention. Luxury does not explain itself on a billboard. It exists, and its very existence demands curiosity. It creates space for longing. It allows others to lean into the unknown with reverence. You must see yourself in the same way. You must understand that your vulnerability is sacred, that your emotions are precious, and that not everyone has earned the right to access every corner of your soul. Resist the urge to overexpose. In your interactions, let your words be few but intentional. Let your actions be measured and purposeful. Allow your silence to say what words never can. You do not have to fill every moment with explanations. You do not have to rush to justify your feelings or make others comfortable in your presence. Those who are meant to experience you will be drawn in by the very space you create. They will respect the fact that you do not hand over your essence without invitation. In this way, you cultivate a psychological environment where they feel the need to earn access to you. And those who are willing to do the work of understanding, of exploring, of respecting the parts of you that remain unseen, will experience you not as an option, but as something rare, something valuable. To become a luxury is not to hide behind walls of avoidance. It is to become so deeply in tune with your own worth that you no longer feel the impulse to reveal yourself to everyone. You are not here to be understood by all. You are here to be experienced by the few who are ready to meet you at the depth you require. And in that space of quiet mystery, you will no longer need to convince them of your value, for they will feel it without a single word spoken. One of the most profound lessons the individual must learn on the path to becoming a luxury is the art of boundaries. It is not enough to see yourself as valuable in your own mind. You must also communicate that value through the standards you enforce in your outer world. It is through boundaries that you teach others how to treat you. It is through the lines you draw that you reflect your own sense of worth back into the world. And yet, so many struggle with this. They confuse the setting of boundaries with the fear of losing others, of being rejected, of being seen as cold or distant. But in truth, the absence of boundaries is not love. It is self-betrayal. The inability to say no, to assert your limits, to protect your sacred energy, is not a virtue. It is a wound. It is the result of an internal fracture where the self has been trained to abandon its own needs in the hope of earning love, acceptance, belonging. This is a dangerous deception, for love that is bought through self-abandonment is not love at all. It is dependency dressed in the costume of affection. When you neglect your boundaries to keep others close, you teach them that your presence can be accessed without cost, without effort, without reverence, and they will respond accordingly. But the one who becomes a luxury understands that their energy is not for everyone. They do not hand themselves over freely. They do not say yes when their soul is screaming no. They do not tolerate behaviors that diminish their light. Instead, they cultivate the courage to assert their space, to protect their time, to defend their inner sanctuary from those who would trample upon it out of ignorance, entitlement, or neglect. This is not about cruelty, it is about clarity. It is about honoring yourself so fully that you no longer tolerate anything less from the world around you. When you enforce boundaries, you are not pushing people away. You are inviting the right ones to step forward with intention, with respect, with awareness of your worth. The ones who are meant to experience you will not be repelled by your standards. They will be drawn toward them, because those who are aligned with your frequency will feel elevated, not diminished, by the strength of your boundaries. They will see in you what they aspire to see in themselves, someone who refuses to compromise their dignity in exchange for crumbs of affection. It is often said that what you allow will continue, but it goes deeper than that. What you tolerate becomes your identity. When you allow disrespect, you become complicit in your own devaluation. When you accept inconsistency, you train your nervous system to feel at home in chaos. When you ignore the red flags in the hope that they will turn green, you sacrifice your peace at the altar of fantasy. You must understand that you are always in the process of teaching others how to interact with you. Every time you compromise your boundary, you lower the price of your presence. But when you stand firm, when you say no without guilt, when you walk away from what does not serve you without apology, you send a clear message. I am not here to be tolerated. I am here to be respected. You invite others to meet you at the level of your standards, and if they cannot or will not, you release them without bitterness, knowing that your boundaries are not walls, they are doors through which only the worthy may pass. This is the essence of becoming a luxury. Luxury does not lower its price to accommodate those who cannot afford it. It does not go on sale to attract the attention of the masses. It stands where it stands, unwavering, allowing only those who recognize its value to enter its world. You must adopt the same posture in your life. Do not be afraid to lose people when you begin to assert your boundaries. Those who leave were never truly aligned with the higher version of you that you are now stepping into. And those who remain or arrive will do so with the understanding that your space is sacred, your time is precious, and your energy is a privilege, not an entitlement. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to be cherished. And it is only through the uncompromising enforcement of your boundaries that you will ever be seen as anything other than an option. There is a dangerous misconception in the human psyche that if we simply give more, prove more, sacrifice more, we will finally earn the place we desire in the hearts and minds of others. This is a distortion rooted in the fear of inadequacy, in the unconscious belief that our inherent being is not enough, unless it is attached to endless doing. And yet, this path of overextending oneself, of overcompensating, does not lead to the respect and admiration we seek. It leads instead to exhaustion, resentment, and ultimately, invisibility. For what many do not see is that the one who is seen as a luxury is not the one who overextends, but the one who conserves their energy, who offers themselves with intentionality, who does not spill themselves carelessly into every hand that reaches out. When you become too accessible, too eager, too present at the slightest beckoning, you communicate to others that your time, your energy, your attention, your very essence is abundant and easy to access, and what is abundant is rarely treasured. There is a sacred economy to your presence, your attention, your emotional investment, your physical proximity. These are currencies of the highest order. And like any precious currency, they lose their perceived value when distributed without discretion. It is not the endless giver who is perceived as rare and valuable. It is the one who knows when to give and when to retreat, who knows how to create spaces of absence that allow others to feel the weight of their presence even more profoundly. You must resist the compulsive need to always be available, always explain, always show up first, always chase connection. This frantic energy may feel, on the surface, like love, like commitment, like loyalty, but beneath it is often a subtle, unspoken desperation to be chosen, to be validated, to be accepted. And this desperation, no matter how skillfully disguised, is always felt by others at an unconscious level. They may not name it, but they will sense it, and it will lower the perceived value of your presence in their psyche. It is in your ability to withhold, to pause, to create space, that you become magnetic. Absence is as powerful a communicator as presence. In your absence, others are given the opportunity to reflect on your value, to miss you, to feel the gap that only you can fill. But when you are always there, always over-delivering, always inserting yourself into spaces that do not require you, you rob others of the chance to come toward you of their own volition. You rob them of the privilege of pursuit. This is not manipulation. This is alignment with the natural laws of the psyche. What is easily obtained is easily dismissed. What must be earned is cherished. You must see yourself not as a commodity that needs to be constantly marketed, but as an experience that reveals itself sparingly, purposefully, and only to those who have demonstrated the capacity to honor it. Even in your closest relationships, you must protect the sacredness of your own inner world. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your time, your body, your emotions, your energy. When you grant others the privilege of your attention, do so from a place of abundance within yourself, not from lack, not from the wounded belief that you must overcompensate to be seen as worthy. When you are grounded in your own worth, you will find that you naturally give less, but what you give is of such profound quality that it leaves an indelible mark on those who receive it. This is the paradox of becoming a luxury. It is not about withholding for the sake of ego. It is about recognizing that your presence, when offered with intention and discernment, becomes infinitely more valuable, than when it is scattered indiscriminately. It is about understanding that your energy is not renewable by the applause or approval of others, but by your own discipline in protecting your emotional, mental, and spiritual reserves. And you must accept that some will not understand this. Some will accuse you of arrogance, of coldness, of playing games. Let them. Their frustration is not your concern. Their discomfort is their confrontation with their own entitlement. You are not here to soothe the egos of those who demand what they have not earned. You are here to preserve the sanctity of your own being, and in doing so, you will command a level of respect, fascination, and reverence that no amount of overextending could ever buy. Those who truly recognize your worth will honor the spaces you create, not resent them. They will understand that your absence is not rejection, but the necessary silence that makes your presence feel like a rare, unforgettable gift. There comes a point in the journey toward becoming a luxury when the individual must confront a deeper truth, one that most spend their lives avoiding. It is the truth that no amount of external validation, admiration, or approval can substitute for the self-respect that is born from within. The psyche is not nourished by applause. It is nourished by the alignment between one's actions and one's highest values. When this alignment is absent, when one becomes addicted to being seen, to being chosen, to being needed by others, they lose themselves in the crowd. They become performers on a stage built by others, living scripts written by hands that are not their own. If you wish to be seen as a luxury, you must first see yourself as one, not in the superficial sense of arrogance, but in the quiet, unwavering recognition of your own sacredness. This requires you to withdraw your identity from the opinions of the outside world and anchor it firmly in your own consciousness. You must become the authority on your worth. You must become the one who decides whether you are enough, whether you are valuable, whether you are rare. When you do not, you will always be at the mercy of others' perceptions, dancing endlessly to win their favor, compromising your authenticity in the name of acceptance. But there is a nobility that emerges when you release the need to convince, to prove, to explain. You become grounded in a deeper self-knowing that cannot be shaken by the temporary opinions of others. You become immovable, not in rigidity, but in integrity. You no longer seek to be everything to everyone. You no longer feel the compulsion to dilute yourself for mass consumption. You accept that you are not meant for all, that your frequency is not compatible with every soul, and in this acceptance, you find freedom. Freedom is not found in being chosen by all. It is found in choosing yourself so fully that you no longer fear being unseen by the world. It is found in the decision to prioritize your inner alignment over your outer image. It is found in the discipline to walk away from any space, person, or situation that demands you abandon yourself in order to stay. This is the ultimate act of self-respect, and this self-respect, more than any external performance, is what radiates outward and commands the world to see you as a luxury. There is a quiet power in the one who is willing to be misunderstood in order to remain true to themselves. There is an irresistible gravity in the one who does not need to explain their worth, who does not chase validation, who does not shrink themselves to fit into spaces that do not honor them. The psyche recognizes this energy as rare because it is rare. Most people live in perpetual negotiation with their own self-worth, trading pieces of their soul for fleeting moments of validation. But the one who has integrated their wholeness, who has reclaimed every fragmented part of themselves, no longer plays that game. And you must understand that this path is not for the faint-hearted. It will require you to face the loneliness that comes when you detach from the crowd, when you step out of the roles that have kept you safe but small. It will demand that you endure the discomfort of being unseen, unchosen, even rejected by those who cannot meet you at the level of your self-respect. But what you gain in return is far more valuable than fleeting approval. You gain sovereignty over your own life. You gain the ability to walk into any room, any relationship, any situation, and know that you bring value by your mere presence, not because others affirm it, but because you have affirmed it within yourself. When you live from this place, your energy speaks louder than words. Your silence carries more weight than the loudest proclamation. People feel your presence before you speak. They sense the boundaries you no longer need to verbalize. They respect the standards you no longer need to enforce through confrontation. You have become a living embodiment of self-respect, and in doing so, you invite only those who can mirror that respect back to you. This is the unseen work that separates the one who is perceived as a commodity from the one who is revered as a luxury. It is not about how loud you speak, how visible you are, or how much attention you command. It is about the energy you embody when no one is watching. It is about the reverence with which you treat yourself in the silence of your own life. And when that reverence becomes your foundation, you will find that the world adjusts itself accordingly. Now is the time to step back from the noise of the world and look inward. Ask yourself not what others see in you, but what you see in yourself. Stop negotiating your worth in the marketplace of opinions. Stop lowering your price to fit into rooms that cannot hold your depth. Honor your energy, protect your space, cultivate your boundaries, and above all, choose yourself first. Not from arrogance, but from the sacred knowing that you are not here to be consumed, but to be revered. The world treats you as you treat yourself. Begin today by becoming the luxury you have always sought in others. Thank you.